The earliest Starship prototypes looked unbelievably crude, more like props from a low-budget sci-fi film than vehicles capable of surviving the brutal demands of spaceflight. Fast forward a few years, and SpaceX's latest Starships appear far more advanced, with sleek metal surfaces and nearly invisible weld lines. So, how did Starship evolve from such a rough beginning to what we see today in just a few years? And will it ever match the smooth, mirror-like renderings we see online? To understand that, we need to ask a bigger question. Why does Starship look like this at all? Why the shiny metallic finish and bulky structure instead of the classic white, slender look of most rockets? Interestingly, Starship wasn't always meant to resemble a retro 1940s rocket. In its early conception, it was designed to be built from carbon fiber composites. SpaceX had already begun production in California, which made perfect sense. Carbon fiber is incredibly strong, and California housed most of the company's manufacturing workforce. That's why many were stunned when, instead of carbon fiber, a gleaming stainless steel prototype appeared unexpectedly in a small village in Texas. Over time, however, it became clear just how wise this shift really was. Though carbon fiber boasts impressive strength, it begins to degrade around 200 degrees Celsius. This meant it would have required a thick, heavy heat shield to survive the blistering 1,600 degrees Celsius temperatures encountered during re-entry, especially if multiple re-entries were involved. Stainless steel, in contrast, can withstand far higher temperatures, requiring only a thin layer of thermal protection. It's also vastly cheaper, around $3 per kilogram, compared to carbon fiber's staggering $150. The trade-off is weight, but the benefits outweigh the cost in this case. This wasn't the first time stainless steel was used in a rocket either. In the 1960s, NASA's Atlas rocket was built from ultra-thin stainless steel so flimsy it had to remain pressurized at all times. Otherwise, it would collapse under its own weight. Even if SpaceX had stuck with carbon fiber, manufacturing challenges might have stalled the project. Carbon composites must be layered precisely to ensure strength in all directions and then cured in giant autoclaves ovens larger than anything that currently exists for 9-meter-wide Starship segments. That's where stainless steel came to the rescue. It could be assembled quickly and inexpensively using basic tools and techniques. And so began the journey of building the world's most polished rocket. Or at least that was the dream. In reality, the first prototypes were anything but shiny. One major hurdle was welding. The initial Starship rings were crafted from multiple sheets of 301 stainless steel, about 4.5 millimeters thick. The early team, mostly recruited from a water tower construction company, had no experience building rockets. As a result, the welding quality was unsurprisingly rough. But what makes welding so challenging? In essence, welding involves melting two pieces of metal so they fuse into one solid unit. Early prototypes used a method called flux core welding, where an electrified wire forms an arc with the metal surface, melting both the wire tip and the metal. The wire is coated in a flux material that burns away to release a protective gas, preventing corrosion from atmospheric oxygen. This technique works well in a clean, controlled workshop. But SpaceX didn't have a proper facility back then, just a large tent. Welding was done outdoors by crews unfamiliar with aerospace-grade construction, which led to visible cracks, corrosion, and uneven seams. To fix this, SpaceX began grinding down the welds, not just for aesthetics but to eliminate structural weaknesses. Small cracks or jagged edges can become pressure points that grow under stress. Smoothing them out reduces the risk of catastrophic failure. Despite these efforts, early tests revealed weaknesses. The Mark I prototype infamously exploded when a horizontal weld failed, launching the bulkhead into the air. From that point on, major changes were made. Each ring was redesigned using thinner single-sheet stainless steel to minimize welds. SpaceX also transitioned from 301 to 304L stainless steel, which offered greater resistance to corrosion during welding. They switched to a more precise method called tip-TIG welding, which allowed deeper, cleaner welds with less heat distortion. And they began using robotic welding systems from Liberty and KUKA similar to those found in Tesla's factories to automate and perfect the process. With cleaner welds and fewer human errors, Starship's build quality dramatically improved. SpaceX didn't stop there. They reinforce the inside of the rocket with more stringers internal supports that prevent the hull from buckling under its own weight. Eventually, they moved on to laser welding for certain sections. This method delivers a highly concentrated beam that penetrates deep into the metal, allowing seamless welds with a single pass. Still, welding softens the metal at the seams. To counteract this, SpaceX uses a massive planishing machine. Planishing compresses and flattens the welds, restoring the original hardness and improving strength. A nice side effect: smoother, more polished finishes. But will Starship ever gleam like a mirror? To answer that, we need to look at Chicago's famous bean sculpture. Crafted from stainless steel, it took a 24-person crew 8 months of polishing, using countless grades of sandpaper to achieve its flawless reflection. For SpaceX to do the same across Starship's entire body, especially with its weld seams, it would require an enormous, labor-intensive process. It's unlikely they'll ever go to that extreme. Still, SpaceX has made astonishing progress in just a few years. Starship is no longer a rough experiment, it's becoming a polished symbol of the future of space exploration. And if you'd like to help support content like this, consider becoming a patron. You'll get exclusive behind-the-scenes access and a voice in future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.